Right. Hare Krishna Mataji. Oh, we are live? Okay. So we are reading from chapter 14, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the chapter is Hare Krishna. If this can be done peacefully, it's good. Chapter 14, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feelings of separation from Krishna. That's what we are reading. So, this Anta Leela, chapter 14. Okay, I'll just start speaking. Krishna vichheda vibhrantaya manasa vapusha dhiya yad yad vyadhyata gaurangas tad lesha kathyate adhuna. I don't know how to speak. I don't know how to speak. It's so disturbing. It's very disturbing. I can't speak. It's difficult. Maybe I have to speak to them. No, but I'm saying there's a lot of sound. They're just throwing here and there, and I can't speak.
Just put it down quietly.
Oh, okay. Let's do one thing. Matajis, can you come forward so that I can speak to you? Because they are all busy. I can't focus on them. And you can focus on them. At least there has to be some audience to speak. Let's just come forward here. Yeah, you can come here and sit. I can see you at least. Okay. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he is now explaining in Anta Leela, which is very, I think it's very deep and very esoteric topic. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feelings of separation from Krishna. Now you see Chaitanya Charitamrita, before I begin this, Chaitanya Charitamrita is divided into 3 parts, Adi, Madhya and Ante. And there is a reason for that. It's not just out of some divisions. The reason is, in Adi Leela, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is mostly explaining philosophy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his associates, and some part of childhood pastimes. That's it, he's focusing on that. But he doesn't go in much details in childhood pastimes because those pastimes are in detail explained by Vrindavan Das Thakur in Chaitanya Bhagavat. So he says, I don't want to go in details. And Madhya Leela, he explains those pastimes which are after sannyas, or after he begins his Sankirtan movement in Navdeep. He's now young. Nimaya Pandit is now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He goes to Gaya, he comes back, he's initiated as a Vaishnava, and he begins his Sankirtan movement in Srivas Thakur's house, and then he takes sannyas. That's Madhya Leela. And Anta Leela is all about after taking sannyas, what happens. Especially in the last 18 years or 12 years, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is just in his room in Gambhira and he's just feeling separation from Krishna. So Anta Leela is practical application of the philosophy of Adi Leela. In Adi Leela, Mahaprabhu tells what to do. Krishnadas Kaviraj Swami. In Anta Leela, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is showing how to do. That's how it goes. And Madhya Leela is a connection between both.
So in this book, everybody should experience like this. He shows us.
Yeah. That's what we have to follow. He's showing us how to do devotion. And that's why Anta Leela is very, very important for us especially for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, because Ante Leela is the end. Ante means end. And end has two meanings in English. The one meaning of end is final. Another meaning of end is the goal. Isn't it? In English we say, what's the means and the end? So Ante Leela means the goal. Another meaning of Ante Leela is Antaha Leela. Ante means also the end, but Antaha means inside. Inside. What is inside the heart of Lord Chaitanya? Externally he is preaching, but inside he is a different person. Let us say Mahaprabhu was a schizophrenic personality. Let's put it like that. You know schizophrenia? Split personality? He was diseased with schizophrenia. And he also wants us to be diseased by that. We might be doing so many things outside, but inside, this whole mood of separation has to be cultivated. And that's the whole point of Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. This is where we have to go. And Mahaprabhu is showing how to do it. So that's the feelings of separation from Krishna. Srila Prabhupada says in many of his conversations mostly, he says that the ultimate goal of life is to feel separation from Krishna. But then he adds, there is no question of feeling separation without attachment to Krishna. And then he says, there is no question of attachment without service to Krishna. In fact, there is no meaning to attachment without serving Krishna. So, what is this separation that we are going to read in 14th chapter? And even if we cannot feel separation from Krishna, even if we can appreciate this, still we can achieve a goal. Just by appreciating that. Because this is the most powerful, Prabhupada says in Krishna book, the method of worship of gopis is the most powerful method to worship Krishna. And what was the method of gopis? The method of, Prabhupada says, love in separation. That's what Prabhupada says. And that Prabhupada says in a small book, Elevation to Krishna Consciousness. That book is there. Prabhupada writes in that, which we distribute on streets, and Prabhupada writes the goal of life is love in separation. It's not ordinary love. So, someday or the other, we have to reach that platform. Srila Prabhupada said, when reporters used to come and take pictures of Prabhupada appeared very, very sad. He was not mostly like, okay, click Swamiji. He's not like that. He's gloomy. And one reporter asked Prabhupada, why you are so sad? Prabhupada said, you don't know what is ecstasy. He said, you are a fool. So that's what is separation all about. In fact, Srila Prabhupada says in Nectar of Devotion, I think chapter 42, Prabhupada makes a statement there. The name of the chapter is Disappointment. I mean to say, Rupa Goswami is describing, Prabhupada is describing many type of rasas, Madhure, Vatsalya, Sakhe, the primary rasas, when he goes to secondary rasas, there is one rasa, disappointment. And Prabhupada writes an interesting statement there. Prabhupada says, one can experience bliss in Krishna consciousness without much knowledge and even knowing Krishna. But it is impossible to experience sadness without being completely attached to Sri Krishna. So what we are looking for in Krishna consciousness is not happiness but sadness. That's what we are looking for. We are not exactly looking for happiness, but that sadness also has happiness. That's another thing. And that Prabhupada says that's a mystery. Prabhupada says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's a mystery inconceivable to human mind how sadness can bring ecstasy. He says that. And there is some kind of, you can understand this by an example in this material world. Just like females, they get, females get pregnant, so they have child. So there's a lot of pain and a lot of sufferings. But in those sufferings and pain, there is ecstasy, am I right? You have a child inside your home. In fact, all females who have a child after their delivery, there is so much labor pains. Labor pains, you understand labor pains? So much labor pains. I delivered many children because I was a doctor. So many children, I was in delivery room working there. And females are really agonizing, I mean to say. They're shouting for 2 days, 3 days, and this baby's not coming out, what to do? We were sitting there and watching her, shouting. And I was thinking, my God, it's good I'm not a female. You can't. But the whole point is, all these females who get a child, after getting the first child, all of them take a vow, I will never have the second child. But then they have the second child. You see, it's like that. Pain is like that. So you see, there is some kind of ecstasy there. Or maybe, okay, that's for Matajis. Matajis can understand this example, but probably males cannot understand. But there's another example. You see, in childhood, sometimes we had that loose teeth. Everybody has, and there's a lot of pain, but you get a lot of fun by that pain, by moving that. You have experienced? We keep on doing, children keep on doing that. There is pain, but there is bliss in that. But sometimes pain can bring happiness. And that is the pain of Krishna consciousness. That is what we are looking for. We are asking to Krishna, Krishna, please give us sadness in Krishna consciousness. And that sadness we will offer to you. We are not here to offer him happiness only. The bliss we feel in Krishna consciousness, we are not supposed to keep with us. We are supposed to give him back in the form of enthusiasm and service. But more than that, we must offer him sadness. And that's why, there was a saint, what's her name? Rabia. You go and Google it. A Sufi saint, Rabia. You can go and Google. So she was going to, mostly Sufis talk about love. Am I right? Sufis are talking about love of Allah. It's not Orthodox Islam. So she writes a poem, and it gives some kind of understanding of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood, the mood we are talking about, separation. And she prays to Allah. She says to Allah that, oh my Lord, I want to offer so many prayers to you. And I want to offer my life to you. And you know what Allah says? He says, well, I've already got so many prayers in my waiting list. And I'm bored of it. I don't want your prayers. I want your tears and your crying. So many people come to me and they become so happy in my service. But I want disappointment. That's what gives me ecstasy. So why is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu feeling separation from Krishna? Because it gives pleasure to Krishna. That's the whole point there. Why we want to become sad? Why we want to become separate? Why we want to feel separation and sad in Krishna consciousness? Are we crazy to become sad in Krishna consciousness? What is going on? No. That gives so much pleasure to Krishna. Why? Because sadness and disappointment in Krishna consciousness is an expression of intense love. Alright? A mother is separated from the child for 20, 30 years. I think she'll go into depression. She wants to see a child. And if she's separated from the child and she's very happy, what do you take from this? The only conclusion is she is not the mother of the child. That's all. Otherwise she cannot be happy. And that's the whole point. We are here in this material world and we are away from Krishna. How can we be happy? That's the whole point. But nevertheless we are happy because at least we have got the information that Krishna is a master. At least that is a happy news. The happy news is we have got the holy names, we have got devotees, we know what's the goal of life, But the sad news is we have not yet attained the goal of life. So you see the feelings of separation of Mahaprabhu, it's all mixed. It's mixed with happiness and sadness. In devotion, there is not just one feeling. It doesn't go like that. In fact, in human also, it's not like that. It's all mixed. And that's what is feelings of separation. It will come in this chapter. The mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were like waves of an ocean, going up and down, up and down, up and down. Sometimes sad, sometimes happy, sometimes disappointed, sometimes exhilarating, sometimes depressing, sometimes jubilating. There were so many waves of ocean, waves of moods of happiness, and that's what we sing in 𝗙𝗲𝗪𝗀𝗪𝗀 𝗪𝗲𝗪. What's that verse? 𝗙𝗲𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗪. How does it go? These Goswamis were swimming in the waves of ocean of devotion. No, that is Chaitanya 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪. Yeah. Gopi bhavar samlitar lehari kallola magnau moho. That's the verse. They were swimming in the ocean of Gopi bhav, which is feelings of separation. That's what we have to be there. We have to achieve this platform. That is Mahaprabhu's gift, by the way. That is what he is giving us, which he even didn't give to Brahma and Shiva. That's the song. What's that? Brahmara Bache, what's that song, Bengali? That even Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, they are not to be achieved this. Aap Amara Chandal. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this kind of method of worship even to Chandalas. Probably we are worse than Chandalas. We don't have this. So here's the point. This is a preamble, and I just want to speak on this. Let's read this and let's see what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is doing, and we can appreciate and at least have a glimpse of what he is doing. We can feel the same feelings just by appreciating. That's the beauty of this. It's not necessary to feel these feelings. Even if you appreciate them, you will start feeling them. And it's the same thing. Suppose you go to a movie. In the movie, the hero is fighting. There's a lot of thrill and action. You're not in the movie, but you're seeing the movie, but you're experiencing the same sentiments. All right, that's what it happens because you start identifying with the hero. So that's the whole idea. The more you identify with Lord Chaitanya and his mood, you will start experiencing the same feelings even without qualification. We are not qualified as that hero in the movie. He is more qualified than us. I mean, at least in the movie. But we are experiencing the same feeling. You know, in childhood you might have seen movies. So when the hero is fighting with the villain, sometimes you also clench your fist and you start doing the same thing. All right? You identify with the hero. Yes, kill him. You're sitting in a theater, but you're saying, kill him. You go in the same mood. And that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is doing there. He's showing his feelings of separation. But if we can identify with Mahaprabhu as a master, we'll start feeling the same things. Even without qualification. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Yogata ayogata na karha vichar. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving this gift. He doesn't care whether you have qualification or no qualification. What he wants is you should identify with him and you should accept him as your sole master and the Lord. Things will go on. Okay, but what he's saying, let's discuss. No, I didn't offer pranam to Prabhupada. I just offer, Om Ajnana Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalaka Chakshuram Vritam 𝗙𝗲𝗪𝗀 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗀 ki. I was lost in something else. Okay, here is this. Krishna Consciousness Swami says, I shall now describe a very small portion of activities performed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says very small portion. Krishna vichhed bhrante manasa vapushadhiya yadyad vyadhata kaurangas tat lesha kathyate adhuna. He says, I'm going to describe leshataha. Lesha means You know, lesha in Sanskrit means a very small fragment. And this word is very important, lesha. Now, Madhvacharya, he wrote a commentary on Bhagavad Gita. And he took this commentary on Bhagavad Gita to Vyasadeva in Badrikashram. He goes to Badrikashram so that he can offer this commentary to Vyasadeva. And he goes to Badrikashram and he's sitting in that cave where Vyasadeva wrote Vedas. It's still there. He was sitting and he was reading. And in the introduction, he writes this word, Leshata. And he says, he writes in his book that I am explaining this commentary on Bhagavad Gita, but he uses the word Asheshataha. Asheshata means I am explaining this completely to the best of my ability. And as soon as he speaks this, Narayana, he appears and he says, no, please change this word. Change this word from completely to Asheshata to Leshataha, to a very small fragment. You have much more capability. Please don't write, I'm writing to the best of my ability. Write, I'm writing to the least of my ability. Because I know your capabilities. So that's the word, Leshata. Krishna Consciousness Swami is saying, I'm giving a small portion of this. Krishna Consciousness Swami, whatever information he got about all these pastimes, it's not his first-hand experience, by the way. Who experienced Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood of separation were two people. Who were they? One Sarup Damodar, another? Ramanand Rai also was there, yeah. Okay, then three people. Yeah, we don't really count Govinda in this. Sarup Damodar, Ramanand Rai and... Oh, okay, you are going there. Okay, fine. Raghunath Das Goswami. So Sarup Damodar was writing all these things in his diary. Actually, he was intelligent to write it. He was quite intelligent because he knew afterwards we need some records. So he wrote it in his diary, and his diary is called as Sarup Damodar 𝗪𝗪. 𝗪𝗪 is called as notes in Sanskrit. Is it 𝗪𝗪? Notes. So it's still available in Sanskrit. And Raghunath Das Goswami was his, let's say, Shiksha disciple, because of course Diksha Guru is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu direct, but he's Shiksha disciple of Sarup Damodar. Mahaprabhu says, okay, this is unto you. So Raghunath Goswami, he actually heard all these notes from Sarup Damodar. And then he went to Vrindavan. When he went to Vrindavan, he wanted to do suicide. He wanted to die. Because he said, when Mahaprabhu disappeared, he went to Vrindavan and he climbed the Govardhan and he said, I'll die, because without Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what's the use of living? Because when Mahaprabhu left, instantly Sarup Damodar died. Instantly. As soon as he heard Mahaprabhu left, he died. His heart, he got a heart attack, he just collapsed. Raghunath Goswami, he couldn't tolerate, he just left Puri. All the devotees left Jagannath Puri. Because without Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jagannath Puri was hell to them. That's what it explained. It was hell. When Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he left Mayapur. All the devotees left Mayapur. Sachima, she went to Katwa. Mukundas, Vasudev Ghosh, Govind Ghosh, they went near Tarkeshwar. There's a place. And all these Advaitacharya, he went back to Shantipur, he was there somewhere else. Gauridas Pandit, he was no longer there. Narari Sarkar Thakur, all these devotees, they went to Sri Khanda. Mayapur became desolate, except Vishnu Priya, she was there. With her servant Ishan Thakur. They were just there. Everybody left. And people asked him, why are you leaving Mahaprabhu? Why are you leaving Mayapur? They said, Mayapur is like hell for us without Mahaprabhu. You see, that's the mood. We go to Mayapur, but they leave Mayapur. How does this happen? We want to go to Mayapur and live there. And these people want to leave Mayapur and never want to come back. That's what these people were. They were at this level of love they were worshipping in the mood of separation. So everybody left. Now what happened was, Raghunatha Goswami also left Jagannath Puri. He came to Vrindavan. He wanted to do suicide. And all the Goswamis, they said, please don't do suicide. We need you. Because we have experienced Mahaprabhu first hand in Jagannath Puri. We have not seen. Neither Rupa Goswami, neither Jiva Goswami, who else? Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, Gopal Bhatt, they never saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Ante Leela. Only Raghunath Goswami was there. He comes back and they say, you please stay alive to tell us what exactly Mahaprabhu was doing first hand. So Raghunath Das Goswami makes a disciple whose name was Krishna Das Goswami. And they were living in Radhakund. And he tells all that what he experienced, and he brings the notes of Sarup Damodar and he explains all of them to Krishna Kaviraj Goswami. And then Krishna Kaviraj Goswami, he writes some portion of those notes in this chapter, chapter 14. And that's why he says, I'm going to describe a very small portion of activities which are based on the descriptions of Raghunatha Goswami, whose knowledge is based on the notes of Sarup Damodar, who was there with Mahaprabhu. So we are getting very authentic information there. It's nothing exaggerated. That's the whole point I was trying. Because generally people can exaggerate, but this is not exaggeration. It's a very authentic information. And he was saying that what Mahaprabhu was doing in the last 12 years, last 18 years, see, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas at what age? 24. A very young age. And Sarvam Bhattacharya, he criticized Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu went first to Sarvam Bhattacharya's house. And Sarvam Bhattacharya saw him, and Sarvam Bhattacharya said, you are so young. Do you think you can maintain your sannyas? He was telling to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it's crazy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was laughing. Okay, fine. I'll show you afterwards who am I. So 24 years, that's how we know that he was pretty young when he took sannyas, and the age is mentioned, by the way. And out of those 24 years, 6 years he was preaching in Jagannath Puri. And he was traveling in South India, 6 years. And last 18 years, 24 minus 6, 18. So after those 18 years, 6 years, he was still active, meeting people from Bengal. So many devotees used to come to meet him every Chaturmasya, and he was meeting them. And 6 years went like this. But then last 12 years, he completely became inactive. And he went into this mood. Why? Because there was a letter from Advaitacharya to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from Bengal. And Advaitacharya wrote in the letter, he wrote in a very cryptic and coded language. And he wrote, you are mad and I am mad. Tumi baul, ami baul. Baul means bad, by the way. You are mad, I am bad. And we have made everybody bad. Now there is no customer. And it's the end. And Mahaprabhu heard this and he was laughing and he was saying, okay, it's time to wind my pastimes and show what is the ultimate aim of life. And he just receded himself. He was not talking, doing nothing. He was sitting in that room and just feeling the mood of separation from Krishna. By the way, in Ramayana, that's what Sita was doing. Sita, Mother Sita, she was kidnapped by Ravana and she was being, what do we say, confiscated? Yeah, captive. She was held captive in that Ashoka garden, what's that, gardens. Now, Acharyas, they comment that Sita, why she was kidnapped? Why did Lord Ram allow her to be kidnapped? He could have just avoided it. But he did that, first of all, he allowed Sita to be separated from him, which is a very painful situation for him, for extending mercy on us. He extending mercy on all of us. He sacrificed his love to give mercy to us. And that's a great act of compassion. You don't do that generally. You don't sacrifice your beloved to help somebody else. You don't do that. He did that. Ravana took, and she was held captive in Ashoka garden. And what she was doing there, by the way? She was simply crying. And all Acharyas says, Mother Sita is mother of devotion. And she was teaching all of us that like Mother Sita, we are also held captive in this material world. Ashoka garden was like material world. And there are so many Ravanas. There are so many Ravanas outside. There was just one Ravana. And we are there. Now what we are supposed to do? We are supposed to feel separation from Lord. And Mother Sita was feeling separation from Lord Ram, and that's why he came to rescue her. So that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching us. That's what he's saying. I'm explaining you very small activities. Even if you understand a drop of mood of Lord Chaitanya, you will get liberated instantly. Now, he begins here. Okay, do you read Bengali also? You read Bengali or you read English? Bengali? Okay. So Krishna Consciousness Swami is offering prayers. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Swayam Bhagwan, Jai Jai Gaura Chandra Bhakta Gan Pran, Jai Jai Nityanand Chaitanya Jivan, Jai Jai Advaita Chare, Jai Gaur Priyatam. I have to read in English, you can understand? Oh, he is offering prayers. All glories to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Gaurachandra, the life and soul of his devotees. All glories to Lord Nityananda, Jai Jai Nityananda, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's very life. Actually, Nityananda, Mahaprabhu sent Nityananda Prabhu to Bengal back. Am I right? He said you should go to Bengal and preach. And he told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to address Nityananda as Shripad. And Nityananda used to address Mahaprabhu as Gosai. That was the name. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had 6 names. 3 in Mayapur, 3 in Jagannath Puri. 3 names in Mayapur of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were, he was called Nimai, we know that. He was called, of course, Gaur Hari, people used to call him. And the last he was called, Vishwambhar, that was his official name. And when he went to Jagannath Puri, he had 3 names. One was Mahaprabhu, people started calling him Mahaprabhu, he became very famous because of his erudite and devotion. And then another people used to call him as Gauranga, and third was Gosai. Mostly he was very famous by this name Gosai. People in Bengal still call saints as Gosai, am I right? They call Gosai ji. So he was there. So Nityanand Prabhu, Mahaprabhu sent Nityanand Prabhu Shripad. He said, you go to Bengal, I am in Jagannath Puri. And he told to Nityanand Prabhu, you can do what I cannot do. And that's a very interesting statement. Prabhupada comments on this in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Srila Prabhupada writes, sometimes devotee can do more than God. By the mercy of God. Just like Hanuman did more than Lord Ram. Nityanand Prabhu, Mahaprabhu said, you can do more than me. Why? Chaitanya Prabhu said, see, I am a sannyasi and I can't preach to rich people. I can't even meet them. I'm not supposed to meet kings. Chaitanya Prabhu was very reluctant to meet Pratapudra. Am I right? Very reluctant. He didn't want to meet Pratapudra. He said, Sarup Damodar, Ramanand Rai, they were pleading to Chaitanya Prabhu, please meet Pratapudra. He is your devotee. Chaitanya Prabhu said, yes, he is my devotee, but he is a king. And he gave an example. He said, well, a snake can be a devotee, but you don't want to meet him. Am I right? You don't want to meet a snake if he is a devotee. You don't want to meet a lion if he is a devotee. A lion might say, Mahaprasade Govinde, and they are done. There was one devotee in Hyderabad, I don't know, from West, long, like 25 years back. And we were sitting for prasadam. I think he was from Africa somewhere. We were sitting for prasadam and there was one, you know cockroach? You call cockroach here? There's cockroach going there. In India there are so many cockroaches. So we were sitting eating on prasad, there were cockroaches. He just took cockroach and put it in his mouth. Devotee. He was just a new devotee, just joined. He saw cockroach, he put it and he just put it in his mouth. I don't know. And we were like, wow, what's happening? He said, Prabhu, what's this? And he said, I'm sorry, I forgot to say Mahaprasade Govinde. It happened, by reflex it happened. He used to eat a lot of non-veg and all these snakes and all this in his country. So it was a reflex for him. He couldn't stop it. So that's the whole point. I just digress. The whole point is you don't want to make friends with a devotee snake or devotee lion. So Mahaprabhu said this Prataparudra is a king, he's a devotee, but nevertheless he's a king. And king is a rich man. And rich people are mostly contaminated. So I don't want to meet him. As a sannyasi, I don't want to meet him because what people will say, even if he's a devotee, people will criticize me. This sannyasi is meeting kings. What kind of sannyasi? And I'm talking about 500 years back. This is not just recent. 500 years back to be a sannyasi is a very big thing. Very big thing. So he said, I don't want to meet. So Mahaprabhu said to Nityananda Prabhu, see Nitai, Sri Sripad, we have to preach to kings and rich people and you can do it. I can't do it, I'm sannyas. And the first thing you have to do is, you have to marry. Because when you go to meet rich people, they also don't want to meet sannyasis. They'll say, come on, we don't want to meet beggars. So first you go and marry. And by the way, Nityananda Prabhu was Avadhut. You know this? Avadhut, he was beyond all conceptions of materialistic life. But on the order of Mahaprabhu, he married. He actually gave up all his ideas of celibacy and all those. He was not attached to his celibacy. And you know what funny thing he did? He married, he straight away went to Bengal and he bought a big palace. In Panihati, you know Panihati? And near Panihati there is another place, 𝗪𝗲𝗪. In 𝗪𝗲𝗪, he went to 𝗪𝗲𝗪, he bought a big palace, still it is there. Big palace, and he married two females, Janava and Vasudha. He married them. I think they were sisters. I think, yeah, they were sisters.
Actually, he did not marry Janava, he married Vasudha. But Janava, basically during the wedding, Janava was giving prasadam to people.
Okay, oh, that's the whole past time. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so that's detail, yeah. So yeah, you're right, that's also there. So he married both, and what he did was, he dressed like an aristocratic person. You go in 𝗪𝗲𝗪 and you see Nityananda Prabhu's turban is there. Bluish dress. He has a turban and he put a jewel in the turban. He had rings on all his 10 fingers. And he wore silk garments. And he was having very costly flowers, garland. He was having a stick, golden stick. And all his associates were almost like beggars. They were absolute vairagi. Dhananjay Pandit and all these people, they were just wearing a lion cloth, but he was like that. And why he was like that? That's the whole question. Why he was behaving such a funny way? Because he wanted to fulfill the desire of Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu said, you go and preach to rich people. And he himself dressed as rich people, and he showed, I'm such a God. So many rich people, they came and they wanted to talk to him. Alright? Because now he's a very rich guy, he's a jewels and rings and what's happening. And that's why he was able to preach to all these rich guys. And he created a community of rich people. In fact, one of the disciples was 𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 Thakur. You know this? He is mentioned, 𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 Thakur. He assisted him in preaching to this Banya community. You know Banyas? Yeah, business community. All these Gujaratis, they are business community. So, like that, yeah, Vanik. So they were preaching and they were getting a lot of funds, by the way. They were not politicizing that. They were using in preaching. And there were so many threats of killing them. Many people wanted to murder Nityananda Prabhu and 𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 Thakur. We get this information from Bhakti Ratnakar. People wanted to murder them. But they were preaching. That's how it was going. So Mahaprabhu said, Nitai, you can do what I cannot do. And what he was preaching in Bengal, he was preaching Hare Krishna, of course. But more than that, he was preaching something else. He started preaching something else. In fact, there was a big controversy on this point And there was a letter to Mahaprabhu which went to Jagannath Puri, and the letter said Nityananda Prabhu is deviated. He's getting deviated, what he's preaching. And what he was preaching is, he was singing Hare Krishna, but at the same time he was also singing another mantra. And you know this Bengali, it's very famous. You know this mantra? Bhaj Gauranga, Laho Gauranga, Kaho Gaurangera Namre, Je Jana Gauranga Bole, Sei to Amar Pran Re. In Bengali, you see that? Very famous. And he was speaking this. He was saying, please worship Gauranga, Bhaj Gauranga, Laho Gauranga, say the names of Gauranga. Gauranga is life and soul of everyone. Anybody who accepts Gauranga as a life and soul, he is my life and soul. He started speaking this. And there was a big controversy, by the way. If you read letters, there are some copies of letters which went to Mahaprabhu, and there are copies of letters which went to Jiva Goswami, and those letters are still there in Bhakti Ratnakar and some other traditional Bengali notes. We have that. If you read them, they are very interesting. By the way, one of the letter, Srivas Thakur writes to Jiva Goswami. They were also corresponding. Am I right? Srinivas Acharya, Narottam Das Thakur. They were corresponding with Jiva Goswami. They were preaching in Bengal. Jiva Goswami was in Vrindavan. One of the letter goes to Jiva Goswami. Srinivas Acharya, he is disciple of Jiva Goswami, by the way. And he writes to his guru, Jiva Goswami, see, we are distributing books, your books, and we are translating the books, we are editing. And Jiva Goswami writes letter back to Srinivas Acharya, and he writes there, my dear Srinivas Acharya, you are 1/16th of portion of Lord Chaitanya. Srinivas Acharya is 1/16th of portion of Lord Chaitanya. What does that mean? I don't know. What that means, 1/16th portion of Lord Chaitanya, I have no idea, but he says, you are incarnation of Lord Chaitanya, by the way, Srinivas Acharya. A 𝗙𝗶𝗶𝗪 incarnation, Lord Chaitanya, and you don't need to report me, and I offer millions of times obeisances to you. That's Guru speaking to his disciple. And Srila Prabhupada writes in one of his commentary, Prabhupada writes in Bhagavatam, sometimes a disciple can be more advanced than the spiritual master, and he can take his spiritual master back to Godhead. Prabhupada writes that. In the explanation when Suniti and Dhruva he takes Suniti back to Godhead, Prabhupada writes in the purport, sometimes a disciple can take his Diksha Guru and Shiksha Guru back to Godhead. That can happen. Oh, I was talking about letter. I'm getting so many thoughts, so I'm just speaking randomly. So this Nityananda Prabhu, that's what he says, Chaitanya Jivan, Nityananda Prabhu, it says, all glories to Lord Nityananda, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's very life. Haridas Thakur did the same thing. At the end of his life, he stopped chanting Hare Krishna, by the way. You know this? When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing, he took Haridas Thakur in his lap, and Chaitanya says he was speaking Hare Krishna and he stopped chanting Hare Krishna, and he was just speaking Gauranga, 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 and he left his body speaking Gauranga. That doesn't mean we should change our mantra. Some people say that actually. By the way, some people, some upper Sampradaya people, they quote these two incidences. See, Nityananda Prabhu is speaking Bhaj Gauranga, Laho Gauranga. Haridas Thakur, he left Hare Krishna and he started speaking Gauranga. So let's change the mantra. And they have different mantras. Nitai Gauranga, something. They change the mantras. At Bhaktivedanta Thakur's time, there was this person, Radha Raman Chakravarti. You go in Jagannath Puri. Bhaktivedanta Thakur has a house there. You know that? Which is Gaudiya Math. Just opposite that, there is an ashram of Radha Raman. And he was upper Sampradaya person. He changed the mantra to this. To Nitai Gauranga Radhe Shyam, something. What's that? How does it go? Yeah. Bhajo Nitai Gauranga Radhe Shyam, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. He changed this. And Bhaktivedanta Thakur asked, why are you doing this? And he said, you see, here are the evidences, Haridas Thakur, he left Hare Krishna. Nityananda Prabhu, he was speaking like this. They have their whole logics. But Bhaktivedanta Thakur says, you are doing the greatest disservice to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. And actually, at the end of the life, he was very sorry that he did this, but it continues till today. There are people like that. So that's what he says. All glories to Lord Nityananda, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's very life. And all glories to Advaita Acharya, who is extremely dear to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Advaita Acharya was so dear to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Advaita Acharya was sick of this fact, that I am dear to Lord Chaitanya. He was frustrated of this fact. He was very frustrated that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives respect to me. Alright? There's a whole incident. And then what happens? All glories to Lord Nityananda, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's very life. All glories to 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗲 𝗪𝗲, all glories to other devotees headed by Srivas Thakur. Please give me the strength to describe the character of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You see, Krishna Consciousness Swami now is offering obeisances to 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗲 Damodar, because this information is coming from 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗲 Damodar. He doesn't do usually, if you read other chapters, he doesn't offer obeisances to 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗲 Damodar. It's all Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jai O Nityananda, Jai 𝗪𝗲𝗪 Bhaktivedanta. There is no mention of 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗲 Damodar. There is no mention of 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗲 Damodar even in our this Panch Tat mantra. Isn't it? Jai Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi. There is no 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗲 Damodar. But it comes here because of the fact that this whole information is coming from him. And then he says, Prabhura viraha mad bhava gambhir bujit na pare keha yadyapi hoy dheer. Actually, you know what, actually it's my request, please learn Bengali. It's very nice to read in Bengali. Bengalis, they can understand. English cannot capture so much as Bengali. Prabhupada said, I am translating into English, but we lose much of the mood in that language, Bengali. Bhakti Santa predicted devotees in future, they will learn Bengali to read Chaitanya Charitamrita.
You speak Bengali?
Yeah, I know Bengali, I speak Bengali, I write in Bengali. Ami Bangla বুঝতে পারেন, বলতে পারেন. I know Bengali, I know Gujarati, I know Kannada. Because I learned because I wanted to read these books and enter this mood. Otherwise, that's the whole point. The mood is the whole point, and it's very easy actually. You all can learn. You can learn in 1 week. Seriously, I'm serious. It's very easy.
But it says this is the richest language.
Yeah, richest, but very sweet. Because it's sweet, you get addicted to it. And you can get it. Seriously, Bengali isn't it? Bengali? The sweetest language. And very near to Sanskrit, by the way. Very near to Sanskrit. So you can just pick it. If you want, you can just pick it in 1 week. It's worthwhile to read, to understand Bengali. There's so many works in Bengali which are not translated. Then you can read them. So he says, Mahaprabhu's emotions of transcendental madness and separation from Krishna is very deep and mysterious. This word, Prabhura viraha mad bhava gambhir. This word, his bhav means emotions, gambhir means deep. Now this gambhir word comes many times in Chaitanya Charitamrita. His emotions are very deep, and there is a mystery to this word. Many acharyas, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, all of them comment on this word gambhir. This is one of the quality of Krishna in Nectar of Devotion. He is gambhir. Gambhir means, generally gambhir literally means serious, a serious personality. But here gambhir means very deep. The whole point is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's emotions were very contradictory. When emotions are deep, that means they are very contradictory. You can't understand. You will not be able to understand whether Mahaprabhu is happy or sad or disappointed. What's happening with him, you can't understand. It's changing very fast. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in 3 states of consciousness. Krishna Consciousness Swami says, one state was he was conscious, he was preaching. Another state he was unconscious, he was in samadhi. Third stage was between those two. He was not exactly conscious, he was not exactly inside, when he was discussing with 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗲 Damodar. And then there were many states in between. And that's why he says his mood is very deep and gambhir. They are very contradictory. You can't understand. It's switching on very fast. Even though one is very advanced and learned, he cannot understand it. The whole point is, bhujita na pare keha yadyapi hoy dheer. It's impossible to understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood. Actually, it's not a subject of understanding, by the way. It's not at all a subject of understanding. This whole mood can be revealed to those people who are pure. This can be grasped by purity. It cannot be grasped by intelligence. It is beyond intelligence. It is inconceivable. Achintya bhedabhed. It is achintya. Inconceivable. So only pure people can have this gift of feelings of separation. Only purity, and not just purity, but sustained purity. There's a difference between sustained purity and purity. People can be pure for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, but then people fall down. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu want to see absolute purity. Why? Because if you give these feelings to an impure person, what happens is he will not be able to actually even appreciate it or even tolerate it. If Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes and gives you now these feelings of separations, you will go mad. You will not be able to tolerate it. You might become scared, by the way. And that happened with that fisherman, isn't it? That fisherman who caught Chaitanya Mahaprabhu near Konark in the net and touched Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was feeling separation, but he thought some ghost has entered in my body. He thought some psychiatric problem has happened to me. And Sarup Damodar comes and he says, okay, you have a problem, but I am a doctor of this. And he keeps a hand on his head and he slaps him. He says, now you are treated. He says, okay, good. So this kind of thing, if you are not pure, you will not be able to handle it. In fact, it is said, in human body, you cannot handle these feelings. Your human body will melt. These kind of feelings are given to you without you being on a spiritual platform, without Sarup Siddhi, without your spiritual form being revealed, you cannot handle this. This body will melt. It will just go to ashes. You cannot handle it. That's why Mahaprabhu is not giving us. He wants us to first receive other gifts and then he gives. So Mahaprabhu is saying, how can one describe unfathomable subject matters? You see the point? It is only possible if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives him the capability. You see, here's a quiz. How can you know Krishna? What does Bhagavad Gita say? Okay, who can know Krishna? What does Bhagavad Gita say? No, there is a verse there. Okay, anything else? There is a verse there. No, that's okay. Who can know him? Devotee? Okay, fine. Your answers are correct. But you know what Bhagavad Gita says? What Arjuna says to Krishna? 𝗏𝗏. He says only you can know yourself. What's that Sanskrit thing? I forgot. 𝗏𝗏 tum janati. Only you can know yourself. That same answer was given by Gopinath Patnaik. You know Gopinath? Gopinath, who was the brother-in-law of Sarvam Bhattacharya. He says, Sarvam Bhattacharya asks him, who is Mahaprabhu? So he replies, only Mahaprabhu can know Mahaprabhu. Nobody else. And who can know Mahaprabhu? Only whom he wants to reveal himself. Otherwise you cannot. There's a verse which is quoted from Upanishads. Prabhupada used to quote a lot. Yameva esha vrinute tena labhyastaseva vrinshetanum swam. The famous verse. Only those people, only God knows God, and only those who God wants to make himself known, only they can know him. Otherwise it's a mystery. So that's what he says here. It is only possible to understand Mahaprabhu whom he gives the capability. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's incarnation is so nice. He doesn't give you the knowledge of God, but also he gives you the capability to understand that knowledge. That is Mahaprabhu. He gives you the adhikar and he gives you the knowledge. He makes you capable and then he gives you the gift. That's how it goes. So you come, so suppose somebody is distributing juice, and he doesn't have a glass. So you give him the glass and the juice. That's the whole point. That's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's giving us. Swarup Damodar Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami recorded all these transcendental activities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in their notebooks. See, it's there in their notebooks. Their notebook is still available, Swarup Damodar 𝗪𝗪. You can read it, but it's in Sanskrit. It's a beautiful notebook, and Swarup Damodar is writing many things which...
Somebody translated?
It's not translated, I don't know. It's not translated yet. I can do it, but I have no time. There are so many books like that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written a book, 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, which is not translated. And that's his... Generally we say the most important contribution of Bhaktivinoda Thakur is Jaiva Dharma. Am I right? Jaiva Dharma? But that's not the book. The book is 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗑$100 verses, and he says, I'm putting all my jewels in this book. And if you read that book, your mind will go flabbergasted. That's the book you can understand what is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but it's not translated. 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 Yeah, it's not translated, sorry, but I can do it, yeah, but somebody should do it. It's a very beautiful book, but it'll actually make all your conceptions upside down. It's such a beautiful book. It'll take you to a different level altogether. He speaks so many things. One of the words he says, devotion is an art to apply intelligence to destroy intelligence. Intelligence. The intelligence. Devotion is an art where you use intelligence to destroy intelligence. That's a beautiful statement if you understand what we are trying to do here. So that you can take a flight in emotions. Otherwise, after some time, intelligence will stop your emotions. It'll stop. It'll just bring your emotions back. It'll stop. Rationality stops after some time. After some time, not now. These kind of things he's saying in his books. They are very deep statements, essence of all sampradayas. Huh?
We have to go crazy for Krishna.
Yeah, but how to go crazy, that's another thing. That's the whole point there. It's not easy to become crazy for Krishna. It's not easy. So that's the whole point he's talking there. So these are the notebooks. If you get these notebooks, you can read this. Do you read the purport also? Read the purport? Okay. So, Prabhupada is writing, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's transcendental feelings of separation from Krishna and his consequent madness are not at all understandable by a person on material platform. You have to be liberated. You have to be free of all material attractions. Then some glimpse can come. Not full, some glimpse you can have. Nonetheless, the so-called party of devotees named as Nadia Nagari has sprung up and introduced worship of Vishnu Priya. This is a very important statement. Bhakti Siddhanta spent his whole life fighting with them. These people are called as Nadia Nagari, or they are also called as Gaur Nagari. You go to Bengal, these are all Upper Sampradaya people. So when I went to Bengal in Srikhand, I travel in Bengal a lot to all these places. So I went to Srikhanda, and these people are there, Gaur Nagari people. So I met them and I had a talk with them. And their whole conception is that Vishnu Priya, we should worship Vishnu Priya more than Mahaprabhu. Just like in Christianity, they worship Mary. Some sects, they worship Mary. Is it Virgin Mary? More than Christ? So that's something came like that there. They were worshipping Vishnu Priya more than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because they were saying she is the root to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so we should worship. But the whole problem was, that's okay, that's fine. We can accept that. But what we cannot accept is, they released a magazine by the name Vishnu Priya. Those people, but at the time of Bhakti Siddhanta, they were releasing a magazine. And in that magazine, they were claiming that Vishnu Priya is not only the wife of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, she is in Madhurya Ras of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They were claiming Vishnu Priya is the wife of Mahaprabhu, but we know that she is not the wife. Do you understand that? Yeah. She is exactly not the wife of Mahaprabhu. She is a servant of Mahaprabhu, acting as a wife. Because Mahaprabhu is Krishna and his paramour, his wife is Radha. Radha Krishna, no? Vishnu Priya is Lakshmi Devi, who has come to serve Radha Krishna. She is not in Madhurya Ras with Mahaprabhu. She is in Dasya Ras. Now these people says Vishnu Priya is in Madhurya Ras And we are followers of Vishnu Priya. So we should also be in Madhurya Ras with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's the crazy thing they brought up. So instead of doing Ras Leela with Krishna, we should do Ras Leela with Mahaprabhu. It's madness actually. You saw painting? Yeah, see this? It's a crazy, and Bhaktivedanta got really annoyed, and he released a magazine named as 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗪 magazine. It's still there, and he was just refuting them left and right. Vishnu Priya magazine. He just finished them. He wrote such an articles that the person who was releasing that magazine, he got loose motions. He just got scared, what's this Bhakti Siddhanta? He's just coming back again and again. We don't have any arguments what to do. Yeah. He was like that, Bhakti Siddhanta. If you read this 𝗪𝗪𝗪 magazines, it's excellent. I've read all of them and you can't really get out of it. They're very nice. They're such perfect arguments and logic. These 𝗪𝗪𝗪 magazines. So he was doing that. So Prabhupada is mentioning these people, Gaur-Nagaris. And in fact, Bhakti Siddhanta was so annoyed with them that he made a temple, Yogapeeth. Yogapeeth, if you go, Bhakti Siddhanta has established, if you see in the center, there is Mahaprabhu, and then who is it? Vishnu Priya. Vishnu Priya is there on the side, by the way. And he didn't put on the same level, and on the side and lower. And he wanted to show, see, Vishnu Priya is a servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. She is not the wife. She is not in Madhurya Ras. She is in Dasya Ras. He actually made a temple out of it to counteract that. Now, you see the whole point. What I was thinking that if anybody tells you Vishnu Priya is in this mood with Mahaprabhu and all these things, it doesn't bother us. Am I right? Okay, how does it bother? But those people, Bhakti Siddhanta, who were there in this mood, it bothered them a lot because it was conflicting with the mood. This whole crap philosophy, it conflicts with the mood of Mahaprabhu. And it brings rasabhas. You know rasabhas? What's that? Yeah, rasabhas. Yeah, they say rasabhas. That these people were very annoyed. Bhakti Siddhanta was really annoyed. So Prabhupada is mentioning that about his guru here, 𝗪𝗪𝗪, has sprung up and introduced worship of Vishnu Priya. This certainly indicates the ignorance concerning Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Now we are here to assist the mood of Mahaprabhu, not disturb him. That's the whole idea. We are here to assist the mood. Why do we have to feel separation from Krishna? Can you tell me this answer? Why do we have to feel separation from Krishna? Why? Why should we do that?
Because Lord Chaitanya was teaching.
What Lord Chaitanya?
Teaching this.
Okay, because Lord Chaitanya is teaching us, so we should learn. Okay, that's one thing. Okay. But the next question is, why he's teaching us this?
Because that's his main mood. Another mood, like someone Krishna still with you, his mood's broken and he's not happy.
Why he's teaching this?
The highest emotion.
Why it is the highest? You are not answering my question. It's going round and round. Am I right? It's just going round and round. Okay, we again come back to separation. That's fine.
There is a two versions.
Yeah. So, no, why? The simple question, why?
Because it encourages us to serve. We don't feel separate when we move.
Was that? I can't. Yeah, what's that?
It encourages us to serve Krishna.
Okay, one thing, the whole point. Okay, I'll tell you one thing. If you want to serve somebody, you have to understand him. Am I right? If you want to serve me, you have to understand my mood. Probably you have to also enter the mood the mood I am. Then you can understand what I am thinking and serve me before I tell you. Am I right? That's the best. That is why if you understand your beloved perfectly, then you will be doing some things even without him telling and serve him perfectly. That's Radha. Radha doesn't need to ask Krishna what to do for you. That we have to ask, because we don't understand him. Radha understands Krishna 100%. So even before he tells anything, she's doing everything. That's why she's the best worshiper. How can she do that? Because she's in the same mood what Krishna is. So to serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have to understand his mood. It's all about service. We'll not be able to serve him properly if we are not in the same mood what he is. That is why he says, okay, you want to serve me, you have to enter my mood. This is my mood, feeling of separations. You experience this, and then you can experience what I'm experiencing, and then you can serve me. So that is why we want to feel separation. It's not for our sense gratification we want to feel separation. It's not for us. It is not we who are important. It is he and his service. And that is why we want love of God. Why do we want love of God? Because when we get love, then we can understand what is the love between Radha and Krishna. And then we can serve them nicely. Otherwise, we will not understand what they are doing, why they are doing, because we have no idea. Just like a child. A child, 2 years old child, if you ask that child, what is lust, what is sex, will he understand? What's happening? So the child will come and tell you, Papa, you know what, I saw one uncle and auntie. Auntie, you say aunt here? I saw an uncle and aunt sitting in the park whole day and they were doing nothing and sitting together. Are they mad? A child can't understand anything. We understand what's happening. They are sitting together, they are not talking, but many things are happening because they are experiencing different things. How can we understand? Because we have the same thing in us. We have lust. So we can know what's happening. Child can understand. So that's why we want love. So that we can understand what's happening between Radha and Krishna. It's not about us, by the way. Devotion is not about us. That's the whole point. It's about Radha, Krishna and Mahaprabhu and their whole project, whatever they are doing. And we have to assist them. So that's why we need feelings of separations is a necessity to serve Mahaprabhu. You can't serve him properly. It's impossible to do that. That is why Mahaprabhu showed this and he said, okay, have this. So Prabhupada mentions here, in opinion of Bhaktivedanta Swami, such worship is product of imagination. Many other methods of worshipping Mahaprabhu has also been introduced, but they've all been rejected by stalwart devotees of Bhaktivedanta Thakur. Now, the group practicing such unauthorized worship has been listed by Bhaktivedanta Thakur. There were many upper sampradayas worshipping Mahaprabhu in their own skewed ways, whatever. There was there. And Bhaktivedanta Thakur gives a list. There were 13 upper sampradayas. You know this? Aula baula karat bhajan neda darvesh sani sahajya sakhi bheki smart jat gosai ati vati chudahari gauranga nagri. All these people came when Mahaprabhu was there and they were saying so many funny things, crazy things for there. It's all upper sampradayas. And that's what happens, Mahaprabhu knew this would happen, by the way. Krishna Consciousness Swami writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita at the beginning. Krishna Consciousness Swami writes, I should not tell all these things. I should not reveal Ante Leela. He said this. Actually, he was not in a mood to write Ante Leela, by the way. Today we would not have got Ante Leela because he says these people are absolutely unqualified to understand anything about these things. These people have no idea what is dharma all about, what to understand about devotion and what to tell about the highest pinnacle of devotion. We are like that, am I right? Prabodhanand Saraswati, in his book Chaitanya Chandramrit, he begins the book like that. He says we are trying to preach to people who have not, who don't know what is religion, who have not practiced religion at any time, who have no idea of the word religion, who have not even heard the first letter R of religion. They are crazy. And we are going to tell them about this Sarup, Siddhi and Manjari and Gopi Bhava, feelings of separation, what's happening? So he says, I'm not in a mood. But Goswamis told Krishna Consciousness, no, you should reveal. And he speaks in Adi Leela, he says, why I am doing this? And he says, I know it's a risk. Because generally, if you reveal a very most confidential knowledge, there is a risk of misunderstanding. Am I right? If I tell the secrets of all secrets, many people will misinterpret, misunderstand and confuse others. And he says this is going to happen. I know that's the future. But still I am revealing because Krishna Consciousness Swami says, because people who are useless, who have not developed intelligence and pure consciousness, anyway they are confused. Anyway people are confused in Kali Yuga. So I am revealing for those people who are sincere and who will become qualified to understand this, at least they will benefit from this. If I don't reveal, then anyway people who are lost, they are lost, and these sincere people will also be lost. That was his whole idea. So Mahaprabhu knew this is going to happen. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew, but he took a risk. And this happened. Swarup Damodar Raghunath Das Goswami witnessed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities first hand. See, I was telling, first hand. And recorded them in 2 notebooks. They were very intelligent, just like Prabhupada disciples. 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗶𝗹𝗪 Prabhu, he was very intelligent, he recorded everything. Many Prabhupada disciples, they didn't record. The pastimes are lost. I don't know, they were quite intelligent to keep the diary. 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗶𝗪, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Tamal Krishna diary, TKG, they recorded, and we now are very grateful to them that we know what Prabhupada was doing. So they recorded. Therefore, without reference to these 2 notebooks, one cannot understand activities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and is certainly unable to understand Lord's pastimes for his benefit of the real process of approaching the Lord. So that is where Krishna Consciousness Swami begins. Hare Krishna. It's 9:30. I'm just speaking. Should I stop? I'll just stop. I can keep on speaking whole day. I like Chaitanya Charitamrita. I like a lot.
We can hold
I generally people don't speak Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavatam, Gita, but yesterday they told Chaitanya Charitamrita. I was so happy to speak on this. It's a very nice book. So what to do? I'll finish here. Okay, I'll speak these 2 verses and then finish because it's coming here. Just finish. In those days, Swarup Damodar and Raghunath Das Goswami lived with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whereas all other commentators lived far away. Rupa Goswami has also composed many songs on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his book 𝗪𝗏 in 𝗪𝗏, the first 3 songs are dedicated to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he writes some pastimes there. Sanatana Goswami also writes something, but it's nothing like Raghunath Das Goswami. So these people, many commentators were living far away. Prabhupada writes, besides Swarup Damodar, Raghunath Das Goswami, there were many others who also recorded Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities. One of them was Kavi Das Thakur, and he has written a book. What's the book he has written? Anybody can tell?
Vrindavan Cham.
No. Okay, yeah, Vrindavan, yeah. That's one of the book written.
Nice,
yeah. But about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's what Krishna. No, that's about associates of Chaitanya. He has written a book, Chaitanya Chandrodaya, Kavi Kanpun. It's all about pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. And it explains very vividly those pastimes which Krishna Consciousness Swami is not explaining. And so he is a commentator on Lord Chaitanya, but he was not a first-hand experiencing Lord Chaitanya. Kavi Kanpun Das Thakur, he was somewhere else. Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. These 2 people are very authentic. Sri Bhaktivedanta Saraswati believes that people of the world would benefit greatly if such notes were available. Somebody has to translate it. Somebody someday will translate these notes and they will be available to people. Actually, Bhaktivedanta said, I will come again. You know this? He said. Because when Bhaktivedanta went to South India, he was preaching and he was very sad that these people, South Indians, are so unfortunate. Any South Indian? Okay, no South Indian. Oh, you're no, you're not. No, nobody's South. Okay. So.
I think
Oh, you okay? Sorry for that. But you are anyway fortunate now. He said South Indians are so unfortunate that they are in their ritualistic worship. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached in South India for so many. He travelled, and they were so unfortunate that they couldn't understand the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At the present times, nobody knows about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's lost, am I right? It's just wiped off. Bhakti Santa was so sad. He went South India and he said, I want to establish Mahaprabhu's message in South India. But he couldn't do. He was very caught up in all this Gaudiya Math and all these things. So he said, I'll come again. So it's due that he'll come again. Sometimes down the line, ISKCON is going to live for 10,000 years, by the way. Some acharyas are going to come to lift it again, otherwise it will just go down by the power of time and destroy things. So he said he's going to come again. So he says people will greatly benefit if these notes are translated. It is most unfortunate situation for human society that none of these notebooks is still extant. Now, people have done some research, some notes are there, but complete is not there. In completion, it's not there. By the way, Sundaranand Vidya Vinod, he was a disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta. He had many notes, he did research, but what he did was he threw all of them in Ganges. This is the power of illusion. He thought Bhakti Siddhanta is confused. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know what happened to him. He was right hand of Bhakti Siddhanta. And at the end he got confused and he said Bhakti Siddhanta is confused, and he threw all the notes. And you know why this happened? Because Sundaranand Vidya Vinod, he in one of his lecture, he was saying that I challenge illusion, I challenge Maya, that she cannot separate me from Prabhupada. They used to call Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta. He challenged. Yeah, better don't challenge Maya. You can't challenge Maya, it's impossible. He rejected Bhakti Siddhanta. He was pretty confused.
Your Guru explained everything in these 3 books about that.
Yeah. Bhakti Vikasa Maharaj, he wrote this. Actually, with Maharaj, I was doing research, much of these books, and so this Bhakti 𝗙𝗶𝗹𝗃 is based on another book, 𝗪स्वती जयश्री, most of part of it. So that's how I know many things there. The 2 great personalities, Sarup Damodar and Raghunath Das Goswami, recorded the activities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu moment by moment. They were very careful to record everything. They described his activities briefly as well as elaborately in his notebooks. Prabhupada writes, for future reference, we should remember that Sarup Damodar Goswami recorded pastimes briefly. Sarup Damodar recorded briefly, whereas Raghunath Das Goswami recorded them elaborately. He wrote purports to the notes of Sarup Damodar, as it often happens. Disciple writes purports. Prabhupada also said that write purports to my purports. Prabhupada said that. My disciples should write purports to my purports. This needs explanation, right? Prabhupada purports and more detailed. Sarup Damodar wrote short notes, whereas Raghunath Das Goswami were elaborate descriptions. I shall now describe Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities more elaborately as if fluffing out the compressed cotton. So let's say Sarup Damodar gave in zipped file and Raghunath Goswami extracted those files. That's how it's done. And Krishna Goswami is actually publishing those files. He's a publisher of Raghunath Goswami. Let's say like that. So he's doing that. Now he will describe further, and you can read ahead because I don't know, you're all busy people. It's all done. So I'll end here. Anybody wants to ask anything? I can keep on speaking. Yes, I can't stop speaking. Yeah, please, it's my request, please read this book. Anybody read Chaitanya Charitamrita completely? Okay, good.
Heard and read.
Third and when was?
There is the audible version.
No, but you have read once. Okay, good. You have read once. Okay, fine. Others? Yep. Completely fine. How? Was that true?
We're working on it.
Okay, good. Please read it. I mean to say, you have to read it again and again, because Krishna Swami says this book is like a sandalwood. The more you rub, the more fragrance it gives. And without reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, you cannot understand Bhagavatam. It's impossible. You have to go back. See, you can look at something from down, but you can also look at from the up. Generally, when you look from down, you don't understand things. But when you look from up, you understand more things. Just like in plane, you go up, and then you look down at this city of Montreal, and then you understand, my God, what's where. From when you are sitting here, you can't understand what's a map. So Chaitanya Charitamrita will give you a map of devotion. You can map things. And then you can understand Bhagavatam and Gita much better. So please read this book. Bhakti Siddhanta told first book should be read Chaitanya Charitamrita. Actually, first book was Chaitanya Bhagavat. Why he said that? Because most of the Bengalis, they were not educated. So Chaitanya Bhagavat is a simple style songs. That's why he said. Otherwise, he was he believed that first book should be Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then you read, even if you don't read Bhagavatam and Gita, no problem. According to him, at least for devotees, not for new people. So please read that again and again. I have read thousands of times these books. I've read this Chaitanya, I've read so many times. I still read that. Read. I can read in Bengali directly. So in Bengali, in original Bengali, it's small. This is like big and it's very small. So you can keep on reading that. So please read this. That's my request. Before dying, at least read. Read at least. Prabhupada said, read at least 7 times. At least. Somebody told me, Prabhupada said.
We don't have time.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Brahmacharis, they take us to Harinam. They said that Harinam is higher than this reading.
Well.
Yeah, okay. They said you start reading, but then nobody hears holy name in Montreal.
Reading of Chaitanya Charitamrita will give power to your chanting. Yeah, that's the whole point. You become enthused. Yeah, I don't know what's the point, but take out time, sleep less. That's all. Yeah.
You're already sleeping 4 hours.
Oh, actually, you know what? Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he asked this Prabhupada. He asked Prabhupada, I don't have time to read.
Tamal Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah, Tamal Krishna Maharaj. And Prabhupada said, sleep less. Tamal Krishna Maharaj, I'm only sleeping 4 hours. Same answer. Prabhupada said, then sleep 2 hours. Prabhupada said, but you read. So I don't know, you have to take out time somehow. But I'll tell you a practical way to read. Practical way to do is, I know this life of institution ISKCON. It's a hustle bustle life. It's ongoing. What I did is, I used to keep a copy of Bhagavatam, Chaitanya with me in the bag. Just like bead bag, I used to keep a bag, and I used to keep one copy. And whenever I used to get time, I used to open and read. That's all. Just even 5 minutes, I used to take out, read. 10 minutes, take out, read. And I used to eat prasadam. After there's some time, so I used to squeeze in time like that, and read, and then it accumulates. And then, of course, if you sleep less, you save time. If you skip one meal, you save a lot of time. You can read like that. Don't eat once. At least one time eating wastes how much time? 40 minutes we waste in eating. At least once we talk, we go wash our vessels. Don't eat, say 40 minutes. I'm just, I don't know. It's your health and body and so many things. But the whole idea is, if you want to save time, you can do that. You can stretch yourself. That's how it goes. But read that book. I don't think so Yamdutas will ask you an excuse for that. You can't give excuse to them, I don't have time. We can't give. They say, that's your problem. Our question is, did you finish Chaitanya Charitamrita? If you say no, they'll not ask anything. Go back. That's the question they will ask when you go at the door of Golok. The guards will ask you, have you read Chaitanya Charitamrita? You said no. Okay, goodbye. No, sorry, we don't have any time, and you know what, we were in ISKCON, and you know what, we didn't have any time, and this institution, and blah, 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 blah. Who cares for that? Go back. So yeah, I know, it's a genuine question of time, but everybody speaks. Even householders say they have no time, am I right? They say they are busy, brahmachari says they are busy, sannyasi says we are busy with disciples, we have no time. We say we are busy, GBC says we are busy in management. Well, no, nobody has time then. The whole trick is not to have time, but the whole trick is to take out time. That will come by discipline. That's what I do. Frankly, what I do is, you can do that, practical suggestion. When I get up, first I read book. In the morning I get up before Mangal Aarti. Mangal Aarti is 4:30 here. So generally 4:30. So I get up at around 3:30. 3:30 to 4:15 or something I read. Because whole day then you don't have time. You're right, you're not running. I read my books. And the night before sleeping, I read for half an hour, 40 minutes. So at least 2 places you can read. You're fixed there. And in between, then I take out time, something squeeze in 5, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, like that. And that's how it goes. Yeah, people have time.
Like one question is not relevant to that.
Okay, no problem. What's that?
So, you have so much knowledge and you know so many like sort of realization.
I have a little knowledge, something, I don't know.
Like even after like knowing so many like all the departments and everything, all this, how you stay like so humble and like.
I'm not humble. Who says that? Come on. I'm like, see, the point is, we think we know too much, but actually we have no idea what's knowledge about. If you want to remain humble, look up. So when you look at the altar, you become humble. These acharyas, we are not even dust. We don't have any. We are just blabbering. That's all. So that's the idea to remain humble. And on the top of it, the trick to remain humble is, you see the point. The more the knowledge you have, the more the risk you have. Actually, there's a big risk of being rejected by Krishna. You might think the opposite, but it's opposite. Because the more the knowledge you have, the more expectations of Krishna from you. Am I right? The more the knowledge, the more Krishna expects from you. That you should preach more because you have more knowledge. You should be more pure because you know more. And in this position, even slightest of mistake will lead to big punishments. For people who don't know, if they do mistakes, they are forgiven. For people who know, if they do mistakes, they are punished heavily. So the more the knowledge, the more the risk of rejection, and that's why people become humble. Vidya Vinaya Sampanna. Real knowledge brings humbleness because we know that we are at risk. We know that people who don't know, they are actually much advanced than us. In another sense. Because we know, but still we can't practice and come to the expectations of Krishna. But people who don't know, they are coming up to the expectations of Krishna, but we can't. So who is more worse, we or them? We are more useless people, in that sense. That's how Krishna Consciousness Swami is thinking. Krishna Consciousness Swami is saying, I'm stool in, what's that? I'm worm in the stool. How can he think like that? Because he knows that he knows so much. And Krishna expects a lot from him, and he cannot do it. He says, my hands are going, my eyes are going, I cannot do it. But nevertheless, people who are new, what is expected from them, they are doing. So, from whom Krishna will be happy? From them, am I right? So, like for example, in a company, you have a guard. What's that guard? You have a guard and you have a CEO. CEO, you call a CEO? So a guard is expected to stand on the gate, that's it. And CEO is expected to manage the whole company. Now if CEO comes the next day and he says, I will also stand with guard and stand on the gate. What will happen? People will fire him. He says, come on, That's the whole point. His position, expectations are different. Guard's position, expectations are different. And as you go high, it's very difficult to meet expectations of Krishna because Krishna expects a lot. He's a different kind of person. If he starts expecting from us, you'll not be able to cope with that. He's God. And that's called love. In love, the person starts expecting. Am I right? That's called love. And that's why, before marriage, the boy and the girl, they're very happy. But after marriage,
they are expecting.
Yeah. The relationship starts breaking because expectations increase, but that person is not able to fulfill, and they know each other's fault, and they say, what's happening, I was expecting a lot, but after marriage, nothing is happening. So that's the whole point. When you start marrying God, you start expecting, and it's difficult to meet his expectation. That's why devotees become humble. That's why Krishna Consciousness Swami says.
And the level of surrender, it said in Bhagavatam that knowledge and renunciation are byproduct of bhakti.
That's true, yeah. That's true.
So when we learn to surrender, to actually serve with love, the knowledge automatically comes.
Yeah, that's true. So it's like that. Please pray for me that we should not become proud. Really, it's a very dangerous position. Anybody can do anything at any time. Frankly, I mean, Bharat Maharaj, he fell down, no? Bharat Maharaj became proud actually. If you read Bhagavatam, why did he fell down? He became proud. And what he did was, he went to a forest and lived alone. And that's where 𝗪𝗪𝗪 Goswami became ekanta. He lived alone, and that because of pride, he thought, I can do it alone, and he became attached to deer. That kind of person, a king of the entire world who left everything as a stool. Such a brilliant renunciation, and he was at the level of bhava, by the way. But still he got proud. So it's
associated with this deer.
no, why? Because he was alone.
Yes, yes.
That's the whole point. He didn't keep devotees. He was thinking, I can do it myself. I'm a bhav platform. He could have kept some devotees, at least a servant who could have told, my dear Bharat, you are going off. He would have just. He didn't do that simply. So this is a crazy word, and
But he fixed this mistake in next life.
yeah. He was associating with devotees. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he was in the ashram. So anyway, like that. Okay, thank you very much, all of you. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai.
You must come over.
Yeah.